All right, let's dive into one of the most mysterious and honestly most powerful institutions of the ancient world, the Oracle of Delphi. For what, over 1,000 years, this sacred place wasn't just some temple. It was like the world's hotline to the gods, where you could literally hear the direct word of Apollo. And right at the heart of it all, a woman. Yeah, in a world completely run by men, the Pythia, the high priestess, was this incredible anomaly. She had this position of almost unimaginable influence, shaping the fates of individuals and entire empires with her prophecies. So you have to ask, who was this woman really? And how in the world did a single voice get to have such an iron grip on the entire Mediterranean? Look, she wasn't just some fortune teller. She was seen as the direct mouthpiece, the living vessel for the god Apollo. Her words weren't just friendly advice. They were treated like divine commands coming straight from Mount Olympus. If you ignored a prophecy, you were risking absolute ruin, not just for you, but for your entire city. Now, at first, the oracle was pretty much a service for the A-listers. Kings deciding whether to go to war, generals mapping out strategy. But as Delphi's reputation just exploded, her role kind of opened up to everybody. Soon people from all walks of life were making that long journey, which was a huge deal. It meant a god's guidance was available not just for building empires, but for your own life too. But becoming a worthy channel for a god? Well, that was no easy task. A day of prophecy was this grueling ordeal, and it started with these intense, sacred rituals designed to purify her mind and her body. Every single step you see here was followed to the letter. And this wasn't just about going through the motions. It was this deep psychological and spiritual process. The whole point was to kind of erase the individual, to empty the woman of her own thoughts and worries, leaving just a clear, open channel for that divine message to come through. Okay, so let's get to it. How does all of this lead up to that incredible moment of prophecy, the event that literally held the entire Greek world in suspense? Because here's the thing. Even after all that intense preparation, there was absolutely no guarantee a prophecy would even happen. Before anyone could ask a single question, one very crucial and kind of strange test had to be passed to see if Apollo was even in the mood to talk. Can you imagine that? The feat of a whole military campaign or the founding of a new city could literally come down to the shiver of a single goat. If it didn't tremble, that was it. Kings, generals, common folk, everybody was sent packing. See you next month. So let's say the goat cooperated. The Pythia would then go down, alone, into the Adyton. This physical descent into this sunken sacred room was a perfect mirror for her mental descent into a trance, a journey into that space between the human and the divine. And this is where the mystery really deepens. The Pythia didn't give you a nice, clear yes or no. Her prophecies were often cryptic, jumbled, and famously ambiguous. But you see, that vagueness wasn't a bug. It was a feature. It was the core of her power, because it protected the oracle from ever being proven flat out wrong. So here's the really crucial part. The raw, divine message from the Pythia in her trance was then taken by a team of male priests, and they were the ones who shaped it into the riddles people actually heard, which brings up the ultimate question of power, right? Who was really shaping history? The woman channeling a god, or the men who turned that divine static into a clear political signal? For centuries, Delphi was the undisputed champ, but it wasn't the only game in town. And its influence shifted in a huge way with the rise of a new superpower that had a very different take on prophecy: Rome. So what's really interesting here is that Delphi had some serious competition. Its main rival was this massive temple of Apollo at Didyma, over in modern-day Turkey. They had their own unique rituals, and for a while, they really challenged Delphi's spot as the #1 voice of the god. But when the Romans conquered Greece, their whole relationship with the oracle changed. For the Romans, this wasn't really a source of mysterious guidance. It was a powerful PR tool. They'd often show up with a decision already made, just looking for a divine rubber stamp to justify their conquests and policies to the rest of the world. For more than 1,000 years, the oracle's voice had echoed through the ages. But, as the old world of pagan gods started to fade, so did its most powerful prophet. So in the late 4th century, the Roman Empire is converting to Christianity, and you have this pagan emperor, Julian, who makes one last desperate attempt to bring back the old gods. He sends his guy, Oribasius, to Delphi to try and rekindle that ancient fire. But the response he got back? Wow, it wasn't a prophecy for the future, it was basically an epitaph for the past. This incredibly sad message just says it all. The temple is in ruins, and the god Apollo has finally left the building. The most powerful voice of the ancient world had just gone silent. And this wasn't just the end of a temple. It was the symbolic end of an entire way of looking at the world. It was the sound of one world ending and a new one beginning. And this just perfectly captures that timeless human need for guidance that sent people to Delphi for 1,000 years. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Where do we place our trust today? And what voices do we choose to listen to when the future is so uncertain?